This is Sarah, painter creator here. We've just been doing a little bit of a explore around the world, really, with the Zoom art group that I run. If you're interested in joining that, do drop me a line with your email address and in a private message, and I will get back to you with the Zoom details of that. We join online every couple of weeks just to paint together with our watercolours. And we've been to Scotland, and we've been to the Netherlands, and we've been to Switzerland, and we've been to Japan, and now we're off to New Zealand. And because obviously in my UK time zone the New Zealand guys can't really paint with us, I did think it'd be more appropriate for us to record this one, and so I hope you enjoy it. So on Pixabay I found this lovely painting of the beach scene out of New Zealand with this lovely rock around it, so I thought we could give that a little bit of a go. So just grab some clean water, some paper towels, give your paints a little bit of a spritz to wake up. That's a bit like giving them the morning coffee. So I'm working on an A4 piece of paper. This is the line drawing that I did. If you are wanting, just pause and screenshot it. And today, as usual, I'm working on my Creative Peak paper. It's student grade paper, but it's really nice to work with, and for the price it's great quality too. So let's have a little bit of fun. So we're going to start off by wetting the sky. So I'm just going to grab my large mop brush, some clean water, and I'm just going to clean my brush off, but I'm just going to wet the sky with some clean water and let it soak in to the paper. Just going over those mountains in the background, but I'm stopping at this horizon line. This horizon line is roughly 9.5 centimetres down. I do draw them with a ruler because they need to be horizontal if it's the sea or water. It's important it's not halfway, because if it was halfway it would cut the painting in half, but I'm working up to that horizon line. So I'm just letting that water soak into my paper, which will give me a little bit more of a nice undertone with it. And I'm going to be using some cobalt blue. If you haven't got cobalt blue, use cerulean blue and ultramarine mixed, but cobalt blue is a really nice summery blue colour, quite watery, and we're dropping it in to watery colours. So I'm just going to do a really nice graded wash. Just darkening that top. And wash my brush and just bring it down. So I'm working on a slope which is round about 20 degrees. I'm going to go into that top and just darken that again. Run it down, always touching that bead. And there we are, we've got one nice graded wash. Looks like there might be something in my brush, but never mind. thicker paint. I'm just going to darken that. I didn't like that, whatever that stripe was that was in. Trying to stay horizontal. There we are. And the only bit I need to go that way is this bit here, because that does need. So I'm going to let that dry. So the bit I can work on now is the beach, which is here. It's a nice big open space, so straight in with some clean water. And it's quite a sort of a browny purpley colour on the mix, so I'm going to go in with some raw umber for that sort of browny colour. And then I'm just going to put some lavender in. If you haven't got any lavender, you could use some cerulean blue or some cobalt blue. And it just mixed in with the blue that's in my brush to make more of a grey colour. It's a nice way of adding texture. Blue and brown together, nice colours. So a bit darker lavender down by the shoreline. And I'm just letting it mix in. I'm going to go under those waves as well, just toning that beach area. Maybe a bit of splattering. If you're worried about your sky, cover it over. Just put a paper towel over it. Oops, a daisy. Let me have a dry clean paper towel. I'm not sure what that is, but right over there. And then you can mix a nice mixture of your browns and just splatter them in. I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine into this mix. A lot of ultramarine into that mix, don't mind. And just splatter some texture. A little bit of dark on that shoreline there, and a bit of dark into here. I'm just softening that away a little bit. That's a bit ultramarine and brown mix. So you're just wanting to build that that beach area, that it's not just one colour. I've just added some burnt sienna into the mix. just some burnt sienna now. Just doing the undertones of what will be a bit of seaweed. I'm just doing that sort of underpainting bit of where it's going to be. Sort of mapping it out, really. And it's a bit like the sky. Whilst it's wet, you can do what you want with it. Once it's drying, you need to leave it alone. So it's drying now. I quite like that little puddle that I've created. If you don't, well, now's the time to sort it. And I quite like that contrast as well. So this is near enough dry now. So I'm going to just get my small mop brush, and we're going to just do the sort of distant hills. A little bit of yellow ochre in that mix. And all the distant hills have got sort of lighter parts on them. So in order to make that one less near than this one, I need to push it further into the background. So I'm just adding a little bit of blue into that mix, and we're just going to paint a really, really watery mix of cerulean blue and yellow ochre. And I'm just adding a bit more cerulean blue. I'm going to add some yellow ochre into there. A bit more. So which brings like a muted green, because I don't want a muted greeny blue, because I don't want the hills to look too near. A little bit of blue into there. And I've accidentally gone over the horizon line here, so I'm having to create another horizon line, which is about 2 centimetres down, which is a bit of a pain. So I'm just going to lift off as much as I can with my paper towel and call it experience. Just add a bit more yellow ochre into this one, just to bring it forward a little bit. Okay, that was accidentally averted. So I want an underpainting on this one. It's getting nearer, so I need a bit more information. So I'm going to go for raw umber as the sort of underpainting colour on this hill. And then it's got some of this green, some yellow ochre into there. It's got some of this muted sort of green colour in it. So I'm just dropping that in, looking at my photograph. Let it run and do its thing. There's a bit up here. And there's a bit down here. So this is wet in wet. And then we've got a little bit of Payne's Grey into that mix. Because we're dropping some of these stripier, darker bits in. This is still wet in wet. Just trying to build up a little feel of some of that texture. So I'll just wash my brush now, taken most of the water out. I can start just putting some of these quite striking bedding planes on, lifting up. So wash your brush, take the water out on the paper towel, so lifting some of the lighter parts, and we can go back in, put some of those darker striation marks on. We don't want too much information, but we want enough. So I think that one's enough for now. And then I'm going to go in with some raw umber and a little bit of Payne's Grey into this mix. Just create a bit of a darker tone underneath. So still quite watery. Using my little mop brush, and I'm just painting the undertone of this one. So the lightest tone of the rock. So that was wet on dry. So I'm just going to get some more Payne's Grey into this mix, so it's going a bit thicker. And I'm going to drop some burnt umber in there as well, a bit browner and thicker and darker, but it'll pigment out. And I'm just looking where the darks are. And because it's a bit thicker, they will stay in that sort of area. Just seeing I've got a little bit of that green left on my palette by accident, which is really helpful because we've got some of that green tiny bit up on the top of this one, so I'm just going to drop it in. So that's just cerulean blue and yellow ochre. And again, I've washed my brush and I'm just going to lift out some of the striation marks while it's damp. Wash, take the water out. Just starting to give that feel. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of Payne's Grey, add it into this dark mix, quite thick now, and I'm going to drop it into, like, tap tap tap, right into this deep hollow. That's very dark. This side is also quite dark. And then there's a dark bit there. A little dark bit there. Okay, so I'm going to let that just settle into the wash. And then we'll see whether I want to go back and do anything else to it. I think it's quite nice. Is that? This is drying quite nicely. If we wanted, we could go back and put more detail on that. What I'm concerned at is that that comes in front of this one, and it's always a bit of a balancing act. So I've got a much thinner brush and a thinner mix of those darks. Touch on my paper towel. I'm just going to put on some, so it is into a drying wash, so it's quite dangerous. If you use too much water, you're going to get big puddles. But it's a nice way of getting some soft and some hard edges in there, and putting a little bit of texture into the rock face as well. But you must use a paper towel to control it. Because you're working into a damp wash. You don't want too much on here because you don't want it too far forward. Just going to darken that little bit there. A bit of a crevice. Okay, I'm going to call that a day on that rock. Let's pick out one or two whilst it's drying it. I'm using my thinner brush. So wash your brush, take the water out of it so it's just damp. Okay, so a little bit of sea, and then we're going to put this seaweed on. So the sea, I'm going to use some cobalt blue and a little touch of red light just to grey it down a little bit. Maybe a bit of turquoise in there. I want in quite a sort of a bluey, turquoisey colour. Okay, so yeah, that's a nice colour. So I'm just going to leave some spaces where that underpainting can show through. And run some bits of dry brush onto the beach. Lots of water in here now. That will dry lighter, and we've just glazed over with that. So I'm quite happy that I've left enough white there for me. If you want more, you can just go back in with some gouache and that will work. So a little bit of burnt sienna. If you haven't got burnt sienna, use red light, that's fine. And we're going to just, on the side of a brush, we're just going to drop in a little bit of seaweed. And a little bit over here as well. Just to help draw the eye forward. So on top of there, I'm just going to, whilst it's wet, I'm just going to add some burnt umber into it while it's wet. And then to get some darker tones in there, I'm just going to add some ultramarine blue and burnt sienna together and that raw umber that was in there. So you're getting a nice dark, nice rich dark. If you're struggling with getting the richness of the dark, try a little bit of indigo in there. But you want that sort of nice dark colour. Rich dark. And it's all wet and wet, so it will mix, but where it's dry you'll be able to get some nice sort of tones and variations. And then I'm just going to cover my sea, load up my brush, and I'm just going to do a little bit of spatter with the dark. Oh gosh, that was a big bit. Just going to put some blobs over here so it's not as obvious as a line. Sorry, I was working on an angle. And then the last thing I'm going to do into here is I'm just going to drop in a little bit of water into those. And those little drops of water, of clean water, will just add a little bit more texture into that wash. And we're near enough finished there, which is really, really nice. I think those striations have worked really well. Quite like that, that feel of openness on the beach. And I'd love to know where it is. Maybe you live near there and you can let me know, because that would be really fun. So if you've enjoyed that, maybe you'd like to join us on our Zoom call. And if you do, just drop me a line and we can exchange a way of contacting each other, and I can put you onto those calls. So we'll see you soon. Bye bye.